Out of the gates on Sport and State. Glad you're with us this morning, the Monday edition of Hutton Withrow. Chad, good to be back with you, man. We are presented by Hard Rock Bet, and it is week two at sportandstate.com.
And it feels good to be here in week two. Stepped outside at 5:45 this morning, and it feels a little bit like football season. Not gonna lie, got a little bit excited, got a little bit tingly in the special area when I walked outside and felt
The
the 60
special
degree
area.
morning. It was an amazing feeling this morning, so I'm excited and ready to go.
Down in the plums?
Yes, yes. Ashley Schaefer would have agreed with the feeling this morning, as it's almost a time to bang some hats.
Or down in the balls, shall we say? The Nashville balls. XXXY. We've got plenty to come. Last night, I know our guy Mark, who's helping us with the show today, he was out late. I was at the Titans game as well. Had late TV last night. Plenty to discuss with what we saw on Sunday night in prime time, the Titans' only prime time matchup of the 2026 NFL season. Deshaun Watson, uh, prime time, not for him whenever it comes to fan bases. If he thinks the Browns fans are booing him, I want to know what fan base is not going to boo him with any team he plays for. A lot to discuss there. Plus Todd Monken on Lane Kiffin and much more. But Chad, we start with the WNBA, and a pro trans message from Natasha Cloud to Enos Cantor, Enos Cantor, who is baseline as they take on the Indiana Fever and the Chicago Sky. Well, they're not happy about their future WNBA teammate.
Yeah, look, first off, Caitlin Clark went silly in that game. Huge night for her. So congrats to her doing that in front of the future number one overall pick in the WNBA draft, and Enos Freedom Cantor, who was courtside. So really sent a message to Freedom Cantor. By the way, if you were in the link this morning or you're in the chat on YouTube, I'm going to be in there throughout the day. I've actually got a special offer for someone that I'm only going to reveal in the chat this morning, a giveaway.
Okay.
That's from me to someone who is with us in the chat this morning. Yeah, Hutton, it's a crazy story. Enos Freedom Cantor was apparently cheering a Sophie Cunningham three, and Natasha Cloud for the Chicago Sky took offense to that. He had a shirt on that just said woman, and I think a definition underneath it was what triggered. Well, we know what triggered
The
Natasha
definition
Cloud.
was me.
It's everything.
I
Everything
identify
triggered her.
as.
Yes. And then so Natasha Cloud runs over to the baseline and gets in the face of Enos Cantor. And according to Enos Cantor, said she's not going to sleep with you, bro, about Sophie Cunningham when he was cheering her three. And then Cantor stood up,
I
and
mean,
then words were exchanged, and it was Enos Freedom Cantor being ejected from the arena. I've
she's not going to sleep
seen.
with you, bro, because she's sleeping with me.
I think that normally would be the what would be said. I don't think that could be said about Sophie Cunningham, but I do think that could be a taunt from many WNBA players. Like, sorry, man, she's going home with
She's
me.
sleeping with me.
Yeah. Look, this is just another example of the absurdity of what's going on in the WNBA. That first off, if this happens in a serious league and a player goes into the crowd to go after a fan in that way and leaves the court, leaves the playing surface to do it because a fan stood up and cheered and wasn't doing anything to disrupt the game, then that player is going to be disciplined in some way, suspended, fined, something. Natasha Cloud's not going to be,
No.
nothing's going to happen to her. I mean, the coach is saying we completely have her back. She stands for those who can't defend themselves, and we stand for Tosh. They said Tosh stands for this, and we stand for her. I mean, this is just your
Okay.
typical good versus evil. We're right, you're wrong. We're accepting, you're hateful, and we hate you for that reason. So if you're going to come to our game, then we can do anything we want to you because we're the cool kid club and we're all about accepting transgender kids and everything else. And you're hateful and you're trash and you're this. So we're going to treat you any way we want. We're not going to have a discussion. I'm going to get in your face and taunt you about not being able to sleep with Sophie Cunningham. And you're going to be the one who gets escorted out of the arena and not me. Again, Hutton, I just think another example of an unserious league with the WNBA.
Well, good for Enos Cantor, who was able to get escorted out of the game. I mean, yeah, he came and he conquered. or they came and they conquered, I should say, because he is the future #1 pick of the WNBA draft once he identifies as a woman officially and goes #1 overall in the WNBA draft. Because right now, Natasha Cloud's going to be having to play pickup basketball against them next year.
Hutton, we're gonna talk about the Titans in that game in prime time last night on Fox.
Yeah,
Big prime time Sunday night.
longest first half of my life.
Prime time Sunday night NFL preseason game. I don't know what was the worst broadcast, that game on Fox or the NBC WNBA game.
You have to tell me on that. I have
That
no
was on
idea.
NBC. That was on NBC last. I'm not saying the Fox broadcast was bad. I'm saying trying to make
I'm saying or the
a
NBC
big event.
I'm saying or the NBC game. You have to tell me how that broadcast was. I'm not tuned into the WNBA. I watch the highlights on social and that's it.
I watched 5 minutes of the game, but what I really saw was highlights also. But when Natasha Cloud went into the crowd, some woman who sounded like Doris Burke, but I don't think is Doris Burke, said something like, Natasha Cloud will have her voice heard. She wants her voice to be heard. And I'm thinking,
Okay.
she is going. This would be like someone, by the way, people are really angry with the middle school fight at us, and I love it. Keep the comments coming. How do you guys think this is funny? She attacked a child, this and that. I went back and broke down the tape, by the way. Channel 5, Hutton, which you were on last night, has an interview with the woman who attacked the kid, and they went back and showed the video, and the kid that she went after had her little brother on the ground, was choking him.
Yeah.
In a fight right before that, and that's why she snapped and went.
Well,
on the
beyond
field.
that, he was doing multiple things throughout the game.
Yeah, and look, I don't excuse it.
The one argument I do make on that fight is if roles were reversed, we're not sitting there making fun of that. If it's a dude
if the boy went out there,
yeah.
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah.
To a girl, you're saying.
Correct.
Well, she's also
or to a younger
young
man.
The fact that she's 16 is 16 with a 13 or 14-year-old, right? She's bigger.
Yeah, but I'm saying like if a 16-year-old kid went out there at a middle school game, we wouldn't be reacting the same way either. A boy
after a girl,
or a boy,
of course not,
or a boy.
Yeah, of course not.
Yeah,
but that's
the one argument. I was like, you're probably right, but sorry, but that's not how the circumstances were.
Well, I think with a lot of people in our comments, it's a white-black thing too. When you look at it, is what's happening. Look, I'm not excusing anybody running on a field to attack somebody. Like, the funny part is that she actually blocked the kid afterward back to the ground, but there was a reason that she did it. There was no reason.
She just
there was no reason for Natasha Cloud to go after Enes Kanter Freedom last night. I'm sorry, he's sitting courtside in a t-shirt that you don't like. To do that is just second rate, and it shows an unserious
let's be honest here, though, Chad. Enes Kanter got exactly what he wanted.
Yeah,
he wanted Natasha Cloud to go at him. I don't think he's sitting there silent.
Well, again, there's a lot of people that stand to benefit from a culture war in WNBA.
That's right.
The WNBA included.
Well, and him.
Yeah, we're not talking about WNBA if this isn't a story.
No, hell no.
Caitlin Clark's 38 points in record-breaking performance is not what we're leading the show with.
That's a Sunday night.
For Enes Kanter Freedom getting kicked out. They're not on NBC on Sunday night.
No.
If not for a lot of this.
No. And look, it is the Caitlin Clark show. It's the Sophie Cunningham show too, by the way. And what did you said Natasha Cloud was saying that she was giving a voice to the voiceless?
No, it was the announcer was saying, "Oh, here's Natasha Cloud. They're showing the replay. She's going to have her voice heard." Is what she was saying.
The quote from Natasha Cloud said basically the same thing. The quote from Natasha Cloud: "To every trans kid person, you are a part of my community and tribe. You belong. You're loved. You're seen. You're perfect as you are, and you will always be protected by me." What about your WNBA teammate? Will Sophie Cunningham not be heard? What about those who don't want this to happen in their league, who are not about a man taking over a woman's sport on the roster, or a spot on the roster? Will their voices be heard? It sounds like they won't. They've been silenced. We've seen that in press conferences. The media's been silenced. You can't ask certain questions. If you do, you're not allowed to ask those questions in the press conference. You're not credentialed by the league. So, not every voice is heard in the WNBA. And if you're seen, well, you're escorted out of the building. Although I did see the standoff where Cantor does his 8 foot wingspan, and I'm thinking, yeah, that's what you get looking forward to. That's a lady on lady crime right there. One getting escorted out because
This is
he's the
what you're
number
going
one
to
pick.
get when you face that team of eighth graders that Clay's assembling, that
Yes,
powerhouse team that he had the highlight
yes,
video of when you go head to head with them.
that
Look,
that is the number one overall pick.
just like Natasha Cloud wants to run at Cantor and say Sophie Cunningham is not going to sleep with you, dude, and go after him. I would fire the same back to Natasha Cloud. Transgender people aren't going to suddenly be huge WNBA fans because you stand up there and act like you are their white knight protecting all of their rights
No,
and everything else. Like you're doing the same thing. Enos Cantor is doing one thing and he's appealing to a segment of the population and he's doing it well because he's getting a lot of attention doing it. You are just coming back and saying, well, you're here, I'm defending the defenseless, and I'm going to sit here and fight for what I know is right. They're not going to suddenly buy season tickets to go watch Chicago Sky games. This league is a failing proposition based on the merits of the basketball. And that's what's unfortunate for the WNBA. They cannot gain traction even with Caitlin Clark. They're getting eyeballs, but all the eyeballs, a lot of them are surrounding Sophie Cunningham and Caitlin Clark. And Caitlin Clark doesn't say enough against the right. And Sophie Cunningham has aligned with the right. So now we're going to attack her. And now dudes are saying they're going to be eligible for the WNBA draft. And all the WNBA has to say is here's the definition of a woman. And you have to be a woman to play in the W. The W will not define what a woman is and what it means to be eligible for their WNBA draft. If they just came out and did that, it would silence a lot of this. Then we'd go back to seeing if the league could survive on its own based
well,
on the basketball merits. And I don't know that
we
it
would
could.
we would go back to Caitlin Clark being hounded for retweeting or liking or following Taylor Swift, who endorsed the left. That's what we go back to. This league will never be about the basketball.
No.
It never will. It has no shot because again, like it's on national. It's about Caitlin Clark. It's not about the sport itself. The sport's not on the national spotlight. It's the individual. And then there's no other individuals that want to jump on board the gravy train. That is Caitlin Clark. In fact, they hate her. They hate us because they ain't us.
And Natasha Cloud hates Enos Cantor because
They
he ain't them. He ain't her. He ain't they. He ain't whatever you want to say it is. He definitely
He's not a
isn't
part
any
of
of those
the
things.
LGBTQ WNBA.
Yes, the alphabet soup game is back.
How was your weekend, man?
It was good. Had a birthday party for my now 7-year-old. Got to smoke some fine meats at the house.
There you go.
We did I call it sausage burn ends is the recipe, but did that and then smoked some burgers and had some people over, some family. So it was a nice weekend, Hutton. I'm just so excited. We got to call high school football on Friday night,
Yep.
which was a great return to that sport for us. We're going to be at another game this Friday night, but it now feels like we have set the wheels in motion to football season. Week 0 games will be played this upcoming weekend in college football. So that time has arrived. The big weekend of college football is the following week. We're 2 weeks away, 3 weeks from the start of the NFL season. Hutton, and pumped. We got plenty of football coming your way on the show today.
Man, I am seeing a fundraiser on Saturday night, and it was cool to see how many people came up and just said something about sport and state. Words out, man. Words out. And I was like, yeah, it was. Clay was pumped whenever we had 30,000 X followers. I was just like, man, we're just getting started here. It's been a great start, and week 2's underway. Every day's the Super Bowl. Withrow likes to say, I'm with him on that. We got that going.
It's amazing, by the way, Hutton, the lack of hit pieces that are out there about the brand. Like, I think that's
Sure.
a really, I say that as a positive because
Yeah,
I do think that we have, Clay especially has built up a level of credibility with what he's done. I know he referenced Shannon Terry, our buddy too, who's created multiple media brands. Clay's attempting now to build his second to join that multiple media brand mogul
Yes.
club with Shannon Terry. And Clay said a lot of nice things about Shannon as well. And Shannon's done a great job with On3. But the coverage of it has been done in a fair way that I don't know would have been the case 3 or 4 years ago, right? Like I think that
For
we've come a
sure.
long way with that.
For sure, no doubt. Looking forward to that. And Chad, you said you have a special gift, a special offer in the chat today at our YouTube channel, which is at Hutton Withrow.
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and post, and we're going to post from Hutton Withrow also. Keep posting the link to the YouTube show live. First off, we are going to be on podcast this week. I had some guy come at me this week, and he said, "Why are you not on podcast?" And I said, "Well, the goal is we're going to build up the YouTube page. We're going to have some, let people watch live and then watch and post on YouTube. And then eventually we'll go to the podcast." And this guy's like, "Oh, it's a terrible business model. I'm in my car. I'm working starting at 6 a.m. Who the hell's going to watch you at that time of day?" Yada, yada, yada. I'm thinking, dude, fair point. We're going to be on podcasts for you and anyone else who wants to listen to the show on the way home from work later in the day. So we will be with that this week. I'm very excited for that. And Hutton, I'm not going to reveal it just yet. We're letting people get into the chat right now, but I'm going to have a special offer that is of high price value that I'm going to give away to someone in the YouTube chat that's with us.
Looking forward to it. Can't wait to find out what it is. I'm going to help in the chat and find out. You can do that as well. Hit us up on socials at Hutton and Withrow. You can do that. That's the channel on YouTube. While you're there, we hope you'll like, comment, and subscribe. Ring that bell, hit that alarm button. That way, we go live each and every day, 8 a.m. Eastern, right here across the Sport and State Network. Stay tuned. More coming, including what we saw last night from Cam Ward.
Good Lord.
Disaster. Coming up, Deshaun Watson, and he's at odds with Cleveland Browns fans. How does Cleveland, how does that franchise move forward with Deshaun Watson playing quarterback again? We'll discuss that. But speaking of quarterback, Cam Ward and the Titans offense, they wanted to look a lot better than they did in their first preseason outing. And Chad, they went down and they got a field goal on their opening possession. They had a 9-play drive, and I said last night locally here in Nashville on Channel 5, I said, man, it looks a lot like last season's offense where the offense they would always start fast. They'd go get points in some way, shape, form, or fashion, and then just tail off and go a lot of 3-and-outs. They'd fumble the football, and while they didn't lose the fumble, Cam Ward did fumble again. There's nothing that seems to be in sync with this group, and while they can run the football, that's really all you got to do. Stop the Titans' run, and you stop the Titans. And the defense sucks.
Hutton, I don't know what's good about this team, maybe other than the kicker at this point. Very disheartening watching this game last night. And it's not because people are going to, it's a preseason game. You can't overreact. I'm overreacting. I don't feel like I'm overreacting. I'm reacting appropriately because this is an opportunity for the Titans to hammer somebody early because it's your starters versus backups. And instead, I'm posing the question midway through the first half, should we trade for Drew Lock if you're a Titans fan? I mean, Drew Lock looks light years better than Cam Ward as the backup quarterback for the Seahawks. He looked terrible. And he looks like a guy who doesn't learn from a single mistake. I mean, carrying the ball that loosely and getting it knocked out of bounds the way he was running it, it goes back to that first scramble of the year where I'm like, why is he not running hard? Why is he doing this foolish stuff where he runs around? I'm watching SportsCenter this morning and they're showing the highlight of him, his incomplete pass to Gunnar Helm where he's going to the sideline. And Titans fans are coming back defending it and saying, well, what you're going to get is that play where he casually runs the ball like with a loaf of bread and gets it knocked out. But you're also going to get that play later. I'm willing to do away with the incomplete passes, down the field for 18 or 20 yards
Right.
on those plays for this dude to understand the playbook, to understand the formations, to understand what's in front of him, to not freak out too early when there's not a lot of pressure there, to not hold the ball too long when there is legitimate pressure there, and try to make something happen when nothing is there, to not try to force it. I just want him to be an okay NFL quarterback right now. And he is far from that.
Yeah,
He
it's
is one
not
of
good.
the worst starting quarterbacks in the NFL. And Hutton, I don't see any reason for hope right now from what Cam Ward has shown. And I don't know how he's going to turn around in preseason game number 3. I don't know if a light's going to come on when they play the New York Jets in the regular season. But to reiterate what you just said, it looks a lot like the same offense from a year ago, even though they went out and hired Brian Daboll, who is a competent and good offensive coordinator in this league.
Well, I think a lot of the offense is what Callahan was sold on doing. This quote unquote new age, short passing game, get some rhythm established. And he hit some short passes last night. Cam Ward did. But again, this is not an offense that looks like the Seattle Seahawks, where for the second consecutive week, they're playing backups. They're playing the second string of the San Francisco 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks, 2 playoff teams from a year ago. They're talking about the world champions coming into town. It was 1 versus 1s in the joint practice. And then the second string, led by Drew Lock, who starts 11 for 11, much like the quarterback a week ago against this Titans defense. Look, man, I think Cam is competent. I think Cam knows the formations and different things. I think he's a bit gun shy with an offensive line from last year. It's a new look offensive line, but a brand new center, rookie right guard, and question marks at tackle. They have to prove themselves when it comes to pass protection. That will eventually happen in the regular season. But Chad, this is an offense that if they're going to have success early in the season, it's not going to be through Cam Ward. It's going to be through the run game. Their first 4 opponents, the Jets, the Eagles, the Giants, and the Ravens. Those 4 teams struggled to stop the run, especially the Jets and the Giants. They really struggled to stop the run. Bottom of the league in terms of run defense. Eagles, bottom 3rd in run defense. If they're going to have success early on, they're going to run the football behind this offensive line and some running backs that can actually move the sticks. Tony Pollard can be just fine. He's a pro. And this is an offensive line that can actually, I think, move the line of scrimmage a bit with how they tend to be some road graders up front. Every offensive line loves running the ball. They're going to have to do that. A lot more than they did a year ago. Last September, for whatever reason, Callahan just didn't want to rely on the run. He wanted to rely on Cam Ward. Daboll's going to run the ball early this season. And that's where the defense comes in. This defense, especially on the back end of the defense, the pass rush isn't there. This is the number 1 defense going against backups this year, this past week. And it's Jeffrey Simmons and then everybody else. Jeffrey Simmons, talking about BTA, belts to asses, in the joint practice. He's mic'd up. Jeffrey Simmons can hold his own. Jeffrey Simmons can back up the top. Not one player, Chad, not one player last night started that game with the same ferocity, with the same mindset that Jeffrey Simmons had in the joint practice. Simmons can bring it, but you have the starters from the Seattle Seahawks on the sideline that Simmons fired up. And by the way, Simmons knows he's going to fire them up, but he's hoping to fire up his own team. And he's got the Seattle Seahawks starters coming off the bench taking penalties after they're just routing the starting defense of the Tennessee Titans up 16-3 like it's nobody's business to start that game. That's concerning too. It goes beyond just Cam Ward.
It goes well beyond just Cam Ward, Hutton. I'm with you. And the second string part of this is what really is infuriating to me. And also all the excuses about the offensive line, who was bad a year ago. But with what they're investing in that offensive line with Peter Skoronski, with J.C. Latham and where he was selected,
Yeah.
I mean, go up and down that line. This is not some bargain basement cheap offensive line they're trying to get by with 6-round picks across the board. They have invested heavily and spent money. They get a fourth and less than a yard in this game, and they can't get it.
Yes. Yes.
What the hell? What the hell is wrong with you that you're getting dominated by second stringers for the Seattle Seahawks? To me, that screams for a lack of culture on that offensive line, a lack of toughness, a lack of common sense and personnel also, because Tyjae Spears should not be running the ball in that one. I'm giving it to Tony Pollard, who I feel a lot better about picking up a yard in that situation if faced with the same. Now, he didn't have much of a chance.
And I think Pollard would have been in the game for that probably, or Singleton. But Pollard's night was done at that point.
Yeah. I need somebody else in the game there. And again, if you're going to play starters this long for the Titans and you're Robert Saleh, which is a decision I completely agree with. If you're him, they haven't proven enough yet. They need the reps.
Yes.
They need to be out there proving themselves. But if you're going to take that approach, then you got to go get a yard on a fourth down situation against backups. You got to show something. And just coming back after every game talking about how missed opportunities and a mistake here or there and this and that. And the other thing we haven't even gotten to yet really is the secondary for the Titans, which I thought was really bad again last night for a second straight game with what they invested.
And Robert Saleh this past week, Chad, called a team meeting. Everybody's in the room. 15-minute meeting, and he did nothing but talk about man coverage. Man coverage. He called out the cornerbacks, called about the secondary, because he wanted to stress and hold everyone accountable to hold the secondary accountable. Alontae Taylor said as much. He's like, yeah, man, it's like we had to sit there. I'm sure it was boring for everybody else. They were pissed off they had to sit through this meeting, but now they're going to hold us accountable for having to do that. There's some embarrassment factor with that. And Saleh hasn't hidden the fact that he's like, we got to be better than that, than what they saw in San Francisco. Got to be a ton better. And look, you're going to give up your fair share of plays if you're on an island in the NFL. The rules are stacked against you. It's the hardest position to play is corner because you're one-on-one, and the rules are stacked to where you're supposed to lose, right? Like you're not going to win. It's not 50-50. It's not a fair fight. But these guys out of position, wide open, running wide open down the field, there's some busts. I think Saleh is okay. Not okay. He doesn't want it to happen. But Kevin Winston Jr. gets out of position on the first touchdown of the game last night for those that were watching. Saleh's okay with that because now he gets to correct it. But if that happens in a regular season game, that's now it's on the coaches to correct it, right? Now it's the defense that needs to correct this, not the other way around.
Well, and who are we relying on, Hutton? If you're a Titans fan out there and you're looking at this team, outside of Jeffrey Simmons, who's made of the right stuff? I think of all the great Titans teams of the past, and you could go to, 10 to 15 guys and say, boy, it may not be the most talented player, but this guy's made of the right stuff. He's a leader. He's in the right spot. He inspires others on the team. Like you just knew from a competitive edge standpoint, there's a number of guys that this was a great pick. I think of David Stewart, who wasn't a high draft pick, but like this guy's made of the right stuff when the Titans were good. Well, that's just a short list right now of guys you could rely on.
Well, and I think that shows where this team's been. I mean, they have 3 wins in each of the last 2 seasons. This is a team that has 9 wins, 9 regular season wins in their last 50 regular season games. All right. This is not some team that's been drafting well. They had the worst depth I've ever seen. NFL quality depth did not exist on this team last year. It doesn't exist this year either. If you want to see some bad play, get to the second string offensive line. So they're still rebuilding that aspect. They've got a right guard that's he's got some pissed off for greatness with him, right? But like again, you mentioned J.C. Latham. Your number one overall selections from your draft have to perform well. It starts with Cam Ward, but it's beyond just Cam Ward. Carnell Tate in normal practices has been tearing it up. He dropped a pass last night that he's making in practice, right? Like those are plays that the Titans are quick to put out in highlight reels. We need to see some highlight reel plays, and players individually need to step up and grab the brass ring, as I like to say, that Jeffrey Simmons is trying to do. Simmons is talking a lot, and he's backing it up. He's the best 3 technique in the NFL, and he can be a Grizzly. You draft Grizzlies. There need to be others that are on this roster that are willing to show up and be pissed off for greatness, because he lit a fire under Seattle. It wasn't the starters either. He's like, world champs. You think they're hungry? We're starving, is what Simmons is saying last week. And he's saying that they BTA. With Seattle. He's saying that the Titans defense took care of them in their joint practice. Maybe that's the case. Maybe not. But Simmons held his own. Where's everyone else stepping up to that? Instead, it was the second string that stepped up for Seattle, and all the starters, all the world champs, are on the sideline in shorts, waving towels and going crazy over the fact that the second team's out there BTA with the Titans.
It's embarrassing. It's one thing to go out and lose the first stringers for the world champs. It's something you'd expect right now where the Titans are as an organization. But to go out there and not only lose, but seemingly get punked, and you see a more competitive spirit from that team with their backups than you, who, as Jeffrey Simmons rightly said, should be starving everyone in that locker room and everyone with that team. I thought it was an embarrassing performance for the Titans, and I'm not very hopeful about this season, Chad, having watched 2 preseason games.
Chad, the first game against the Jets, must win.
Yep.
Must win, because if you're Robert Saleh, not only it has nothing to do with coaching against your former team, all that, that's storyline stuff. That's WNBA storyline stuff. What this is about is instilling and installing your culture, your identity. Because right now they have a slogan, all gas, no brakes. And he's doing everything he can to start this movement towards being more of an alpha team. And there's just a lot of players that were used to being coddled. And that doesn't happen overnight to where you just flip a switch and you're like, okay, now we have an identity. But when you're playing the team in week 1 that is in the cellar with you, among the worst NFL teams over the last however many years you want to say, the Titans are in that group too, by the way. You don't start to climb your way out of things unless you start beating teams that are on the same tier as you. And with week 1, I think and I think it's important too that they win that game for Saleh's case, for Dable's case, for Gus Bradley's case, because you need the locker room to start to galvanize and follow you. I do think they're giving a ton of effort. I think the effort in camp, a lot of physicality in practices. Does that carry over to week 1? Does that carry over to a victory for the Titans in a game that they've got to have? You lose that game, you got the Eagles coming up next, followed by the Giants and the Ravens. My point is, win the games you're supposed to and get past 3 wins in a season. To do that starts with the New York Jets in week 1.
You win that first game, Hutton, and with the Giants being one of those next 3, you feel like, hey, this team could be 500 after 4 games. Right after that point in the season, which would be a huge win for this Titans organization that can't win more than 3 games in a season in recent years. So, yeah, I think this first game, paramount.
Yep. Chad, plenty to discuss coming up with Deshaun Watson. Cam Ward doesn't work out. The Titans fans want Deshaun Watson? No. Browns fans don't even want him. That's straight ahead. It's Hutton Withrow presented by Hard Rock Bet. And Chad, the name says it all. Hutton Withrow, yes, but also it's not perfect 8, perfect 9. It's perfect 10 mortgage. Apply in 10 minutes, close in 10 days. That's the whole idea. A mortgage that's simple, fast, fair. 10 minutes, start to finish, right from your phone. You don't have a stack of paperwork here, thank God. And no sitting across the desk from a banker who's talking down to you that you need to do something about.
Yeah, you want a human, right? You'd rather talk to a human, and you can with Perfect 10 Mortgage. Call and you get a real loan officer, not a phone tree. And if you're buying new construction, ask about the builder program, builder funded rate buy downs that can get you a rate the bank can't print. And if you're not ready to buy, that's fine. Date the rate, marry the house, put that on
Yes.
a t-shirt, get the house you want now, refinance when rates come down. Straight talk on what you actually qualify for, built for real people, not paperwork. Perfect10mortgage.com or call them at 855-789-1010. That's perfect10mortgage.com. Perfect 10 Mortgage is an equal housing lender.
Deshaun Watson is in line to be the starter for the Cleveland Browns and head coach Todd Monken. Because right now he's taking the reps ahead of Shedeur Sanders, but they're in a battle for the number one job, Shedeur Sanders and Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson, who, yes, has the highest contract, the most guaranteed, fully guaranteed contract of the players in the National Football League. But, Watson has those settlements, those civil suits that he's settled in his background. And, well,
And when you said he's got those settlements, you know what it reminded me of? Kenny Powers in Eastbound and Down when he gets in the wreck with Stevie Janowski and he says, "I got priors."
I got
And he has to
priors.
split on him when he
I'll
wrecks
see
the
you at
car.
school.
Yeah.
I'll
That's
see
what
you at
Deshaun
school.
Watson had to tell the Browns fans. I got priors.
Am I your sister? I don't know. Were you driving? I
Classic.
don't know. Were you driving? Well,
Oh man.
uh, Deshaun Watson's not going to be driving the offense much more for the Cleveland Browns. Doesn't sound like he wants to play football. Doesn't he'd rather just take his millions and whatever. They're fully guaranteed. But he wants everyone to know how hurt he is that the home fans are booing him.
I mean, I didn't have no reaction. I think the biggest thing is, I think you guys know too, and I think the whole world knows. It has nothing to do about the performance. It's a little bit personal than that. So, I think it's a disrespectful thing. So, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna keep whatever I feel with me and my family internally on how I feel about that, and yeah, just move on.
But don't you think, Deshaun, that winning and playing better would eliminate some of that booing?
Last time I played on this field, I tore my Achilles. And that same fan base, they cheered when I got hurt. So does that have to do with, what does that have to do with anything about performance? When a person get hurt, especially for your own city, and they cheer.
Does any of that make you regret coming here?
No, I don't regret anything in my life. I think the Lord put me through situations for a reason, so I don't regret anything at all. But I had different thoughts on how it was going to be, but it is what it is. Sometimes the tables turn, and I'm patient enough because I'm a child of God to wait for that time to change. So I'm not tripping on it.
Oh, he's tripping up though, right there. Chad, the exact reason why he's getting booed is because he can stand there at a podium on the weekend of August, what was this, 23rd or 22nd when he said this, of 2026. He can say, I don't regret anything in my life. That is exactly why he's getting booed. And if the Browns, it's not just about the Browns, he would get booed by any fan base that would be forced to have him as their quarterback right now. I'm not surprised by this in the least. I'm not into booing a guy who tears his Achilles. But it's more than just tearing your Achilles because they don't like you, Deshaun. It's because they don't like what you did. I mean, go do something else if you're so butthurt over the fact that the fan base is booing you because it's not about performance. It is about performance, by the way. It is about performance. Chad, I'll let you chime in just a second. Let me compare it to one player, Pac-Man Jones. Pac-Man Jones was involved in a suspension, a year-long suspension here in Nashville There was a triple shooting out in Las Vegas where Urbanski, I believe, is the guy's last name. Tom Urbanski is the guy's name.
Tom Urbanski, you nailed it.
One of the strip club owners or managers paralyzed from the waist down. Pac-Man ended up even having to pay a huge settlement, a fine in all of this when it's all said and done. Guess who cheered him upon a punt return for a touchdown? The Tennessee Titans fans at Nissan Stadium, or at the time LP Field. So you go out and perform well, fans will cheer. But when you give them nothing to cheer about, you represent what they don't like. And Deshaun Watson represents what fans don't like right now.
Well, I think there's no more fitting of a visual than Deshaun Watson messing with his probably $100,000 earrings or more
Yeah.
as he's answering the question and putting that diamond in where everyone can see it. Because Hutton, it's not just about the performance, right? It's not just about the off-field stuff. It's not just about, booing someone. You're not celebrating that, boy, I'm glad that they're injured or they're in pain. It's a combination of everything, right? And it's also starving fan base that desperately wants success. You got an owner in Jimmy Haslam who gave that dude the first ever fully guaranteed contract. So Deshaun Watson, in a way, set back the quarterback market in terms of getting that guaranteed contract again because it's been so wildly unsuccessful with him in Cleveland. So that's a factor in it. All the guaranteed money, everything else. It's a combination of everything.
He's been awful.
And Deshaun Watson understands it deep down. It would be hard for any human being to admit, hey, I'm at fault here with a lot of this too, right? Like, I completely understand why they're mad at me. I'm mad at myself, this and that. Instead, the human response is you just turn it to, well, they just don't like me. It's a personal thing. And, this town, for whatever reason, I can give you 1,000 of them, but for whatever reason, they just don't like me. That's the response from Deshaun Watson, when in reality, Hutton, and you laid it out, we all know why the Cleveland Browns fan base doesn't like Deshaun Watson. They wanted to hope against hope that, hey, please be our savior. They were defending everything after the signing, right? They were willing to turn themselves over to Deshaun Watson in the hopes and prayers that he could be their deliverer from all that has been bad with that organization. He's been far from that. He's in a battle with Shedeur Sanders for the starting quarterback right now, so he's going to get booed. And instead of Deshaun Watson just standing up there and saying, yeah, I get it. I know exactly why they're booing me. Let's move on to the next question.
Yeah, because you get what, 24 massage therapists saying that you try to get a hand job from them every time you got a massage. Yeah, that's why. If you're Todd Monken, if you're the Cleveland Browns, how do you start this guy? How do you make him the starting quarterback of your franchise? You can't. This is Shedeur Sanders' job now. Not after comments to that fan base. I can't.
Isn't it crazy, Hutton, too,
that
we're sitting here talking about Deshaun Watson, who's been in the NFL for a long time now, and has had success with the Houston Texans. And the fact that we're having to sit here, and you're right, and say, how do you start this guy? How do you start this guy with all this experience, who's had success with the Houston Texans and everything else, and knowing the thoughts about Shedeur Sanders and his maturity,
he's going
for
after
lack
your
thereof, and
fan
everything
base,
else. But yes, I'm with you. We're all sitting here saying, you got to go with Shedeur Sanders. You got to go with Shedeur Sanders. The fact that we're even having that discussion tells you got to go with Shedeur Sanders. And it really does put Todd Monken in a weird spot with him saying all these things, because even if he was the best option right now, Deshaun Watson makes it so difficult to trust him or put him in there or hand him over to a city and a fan base and say, hey, Browns fans, 2026, fired up. Here's your guy. Here's our leader, Deshaun Watson. Boo.
I mean,
that's going to be the response.
Well, because if you think about it, man, the boos are only going to get louder now. He's calling them out. And if you just turn around and name him the starter, the fan base turns on you, right? That's a slap in the face to your fans if you then turn around and do that. Because, look, the organization knows what a mess this is. It's not like they have a blind eye to it, or it's not like the organization doesn't feel the same way.
Yeah.
They're just trapped by the contract.
Hutton, the chat, YouTube chat, hit us up there. Watch us on YouTube, Hutton Withrow. Chat's starting to cook right now. Catfish Jake, going back to our discussion about the Titans, says it's time to start the, quote, death march for Arch talk for the Titans. I don't know if that's been bandied about by anyone else. I'm going to give Catfish Jake credit for it because the first time I've seen it, but we're stealing that now. If the Titans start 0-4, or heck, Hutton, if the Titans start 0-1 after losing the New York Jets, we will begin talk on this show, and we'll credit Catfish Jake, credit where credit is due. We will discuss the death march for Arch that's going to be coming up.
Catfish Jake's going to be in the Fantasy Football League, by the way.
That's great. It's happening. Hutton's going to be the commissioner. Thank you, Hutton, for taking the reins of commissionership.
We have the league created. You could join the chat and make your case for why you want to be in the Fantasy Football League for Hutton Withrow as well. We've got, I believe, 11 spots available, 10 spots available now.
Are we going to ask anyone who works with us is the question. Or are we just going to wait to see how much we like them by the end of this week?
I think I've already factored them in. Okay,
good. They're already factored in. Have they said yes?
No, but I mean, I just assume we're telling them.
Is JT going to be a part of this?
I just assume they're being told, Chad.
JT's like, I probably
do they have a choice?
I probably have a kid's softball game to be at that night and can't do it, is what he's thinking. JT, are you interested in our fantasy football league at all?
No, I'm not. Let's leave a spot open for somebody else.
Well, JT, congratulations. You are in the fantasy football
That's
league.
right. That's all we needed to hear. No interest at all. Boom. You're our third member of the fantasy football league.
How was your weekend, JT?
It was great, except having to watch the Tennessee Titans celebrate across the field after an interception on a guy that's thrown two and act like it's, Christmas Day. It was wonderful.
The muff punt early in the game, too, for the Seahawks, like the first bright spot for the Titans, they're down 16-3 or whatever at that time, and the celebration where they sprint all the way across the field after picking up the muff punt like they actually did something, that was also something.
Well, the reason for that is whenever the Seahawks had their second touchdown, where the guy just ran through the middle of the heart of the defense and scored like a 60-yard touchdown run or whatever, the entire bench, the entire starting lineup for the Seahawks came off the bench into the end zone to celebrate. And they're waving towels and talking trash on. So they took a penalty for that. They ended up missing the extra point. Took a penalty for that. So then that started, but keep in mind the Titans starters were on the field that gave up that play. So I guess because they started to take the lead, the Titans starters were like, oh, we're going to talk our trash now. We're going to act like the defending Super Bowl champs. So, JT, that's why they were celebrating. But I'm with you, man. I would say act like you've been there before. This team hasn't. this team has not.
And then
this was their national game. Their national spotlight game. Excuse me. The national spotlight game was this game. So, you know what? They're going to make sure everyone knows. Remember the night you play the Titans.
A couple things also on top of that. JT's right. Stop with the celebration on that. Also, stop with the fighting and the chirping on the sideline on a kickoff return with all the starters for the Seahawks, who that's all they want is to rile you up, and you're giving in to them early in the game when you do that.
Yeah.
The other thing is Julian Edelman and Carissa Thompson provided a pregame and halftime show from field level for Fox. Julian Edelman, tell me you know nothing about Nashville without telling me you know nothing about Nashville when you try to drop in a joke that you're ready to go over to Broadway Street and hang out during the game. He said, I'm just ready to get to Broadway Street. And I'm thinking,
I was in the elevator. I was in the elevator with Jules last night. And, dude, let me tell you, man, that guy may not know the name of the street,
but he's been there.
He could do some damage on Broadway.
Oh, there's no doubt. I feel like that guy's always like 10 seconds away from a Jaeger bomb whenever he's on air doing anything. I'm like, if you poured this guy a vodka Red Bull right now, he would down it in front of you.
He had been in Nashville since Friday. He was at the joint practice. And he hasn't been to Broadway yet. He said he's never been to Broadway. I found that hard to believe, Chad, that Julian Edelman had been in Nashville since Friday.
I have no doubt that he's probably been to other spots, better spots in Nashville.
Oh,
but when you refer to it as Broadway Street, he sounds like a guy who's never been to Broadway.
You know that guy. Had Gronk been with him, they'd been on Broadway. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's the difference. But you don't think he went to like 12:30 Club, Pushing Daisies?
I don't know. I feel like they're probably even more exclusive than that. But Yeah, if it's Gronk, I think he's definitely,
You can find exclusive, but if you
he's
want
doing-
to find
he's doing a group
bachelorettes,
shot
I'm
of some
saying,
sort at Jason Aldean's or someplace like that.
if you want to find bachelorettes, you go to Broadway Street.
Broadway Street. Yes. Broadway Street.
Oh, we're not done with the Browns yet. Oh no, Todd Monken. No. He's getting phone calls now from college coaches about current Browns players, not Deshaun Watson, but players that are going to have a fully executed contract for college football if they clear waivers. That's straight ahead here on Hot Mic. Accidents do not wait for a good time. One bad moment, a wreck, a fall, a doctor who wasn't paying attention. Suddenly you're fighting an insurance company that does this every single day. And that's why Clay started Clay Travis Law. He's a Vanderbilt law grad. He built a firm around one idea. People deserve someone willing to pay attention, ask the hard questions, and push back when things don't add up. Experienced trial attorneys who bring the fight to corporations and insurers. It's based in Nashville, trusted across the country. Chad, it's Clay Travis Law.
Yes, and for car and truck wrecks, rideshare accidents, medical malpractice, premises liability, product liability, if you were wrong, they want to hear about it. Here's what they promise. Honesty. Don't we all want that? They don't sugarcoat your case. You'll hear what it's actually worth, not what you want to hear. The case evaluation is free, no charge, no pressure, no hassle. Just tell them your story. Go to claytravislaw.com or call 877-222-4444. That's claytravislaw.com. No case is too big or too small.
Chad, so well, by the way, welcome back, Hutton Withrow, not the other show that I mentioned. Hutton Withrow, we are we are presented by.
We'll cut that in post. Don't worry.
We're presented by Hard Rock Bet. Hard Rock Bet is our sponsor here. We love having them a part of the show. Chad, so Todd Monken is getting calls about his team and his players from college coaches from Lane Trade.
This is so absurd. It's funny. the whole thing. So Todd Monken was asked about the whole Daquan Wright saga, which we did learn yesterday, and we're going to get into this. Daquan Wright, he's cut. He's officially going back. He wanted to get cut because he's going to go back and make more money to play another year at LSU, where he played for Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss. Now he's going to go play for Lane Kiffin at LSU. But when we found out about Lane Kiffin calling Todd Monken, maybe to give him a heads up or say, hey, man, if you're thinking about cutting this dude, do it now so he can get down here for fall camp with the Bayou Bengals. Well, we found out because Todd Monken was asked about the whole situation. Okay. Todd Monken, so he was asked about it, Hutton, and basically said, isn't this whole situation crazy? And that he was going to, that Lane Kiffin actually called him, and I guess he should have returned the call.
Should have taken
because
the call.
he didn't, that Lane Kiffin called and gave him a heads up. So, look, I think people everywhere is like, man, this is nuts. You know, you had a year ago where Charles Bediako went from the G League to Alabama mid-season. It was a mid-season pickup because Alabama had some frontline injuries in basketball, right? And everybody said, okay, this is bad. Nate Oates is a villain for this. But Alabama defended it. Hey, kid wasn't doing well in the G League. We want to give him a chance. We're all about the kid and the individual. The problem is he's not a kid. He's been playing pro basketball for 2 years at that point. Daquan Wright has not been playing pro football for 2 years, but he did leave and join an NFL roster, and he's in a training camp, and he wants to go back because he was granted a 5th year of eligibility by an injunction from a court in something that he filed with some other athletes.
But if he pays back the money, Chad, does he get suspended for 2 games, 3 games?
No, he's not getting suspended at all because apparently he's just immediately eligible based on this court ruling, and the NCAA, they won't mess that. Now,
you could be eligible to play, but you still have to play within the guidelines of the. So I'm saying, like, Arion Carter is eligible to play, but he's suspended.
I don't think he's going to be suspended at all, and here's why. The argument is from this class of 2022. Yes, class of 2022. Is that we were fighting for a 5th year when you were in between granting a 5th year anyway, which is now the case with the next class. So we were arguing it's going to happen. It's happened now. We should be eligible to do it. They got one court to rule in their favor saying, yeah, you have an argument here. You need a 5th year. So everything they've done now, taking checks from NFL teams, flying on their planes, everything else
That's
is
the
null and
NCAA's
void.
fault for not ruling.
It's null and void. Right? Arion Carter's not arguing I want a 5th year of eligibility. He only played 3 years at Tennessee. He entered the draft early and then came back out of the draft.
So they don't have to pay back anything.
They don't pay back a dime. They made all that money and they're going to be back. But this is what's insane about the whole process. You've got a 2-game suspension for Arion Carter, who simply decided, hey, I'm going to go through the early part of the process.
$400.
He got info back about his injury, and he paid an agent, but he paid the agent back for the flight. And he's got to sit 2 games. None of it makes any sense. None of it's right. And Hutton, the fact that it's Lane Kiffin at the center of all this, I think is a big part of the storyline. It could have been anybody. I'm not saying Lane's the only one who had this idea, but look at the amount of Ole Miss players in that lawsuit. And tell me that Lane Kiffin isn't the one behind this the most. He's the one that's going to make history, right? He's the one that's going to start this. Adam Schefter's tweet said history to start it. Daquan Wright will become the first NFL player to go back to college and play college football.
History.
History in the making.
As the WNBA say, herstory. Herstory.
Just like Enes Kanter being the first full man to play in the WNBA.
History.
History. Do you think Adam Schefter, do you think Shams Charania is going to post history? Enes Kanter as the #1 pick of the Seattle Storm will make history as the first person with both testicles to play and star for a WNBA team. Maybe a Nashville Ball future for Enes Kanter. But it's comical that Lane Kiffin is behind this, because everything Lane Kiffin does seems to be unprecedented. The way he handled the Ole Miss exit to LSU, unprecedented. The way he handled Al Davis with the Raiders, unprecedented. The way he called an impromptu weird press conference in Knoxville when he left late in the game after Pete Carroll left for the Seattle Seahawks, unprecedented. The dude seems to have a track record of doing the craziest possible thing. And now the craziest possible thing is, hey, you know, we're going to go recruit. We're not going to go recruit in Duluth, Georgia. We're going to go recruit NFL training camps for people with 5th year of eligibility. And that's exactly what he's done. And he's the first.
And you know this, man. Kiffin won't be the first nor the last, nor the last. You're gonna have coaching staffs now. The final week of the preseason is coming up right now. You think they're not have all the GMs across college football aren't scouring these NFL rosters to see who's undrafted and who may be cut and who's clearing waivers, who's not going to be on a practice squad, to see who can jump back into the mix. Chad, you got some Dan Lanning.
Let me also say this about it too, Hutton, and we'll get to Dan Lanning for sure. There will be a thought amongst fan bases that if we don't do this, I'm seeing we as whatever fan base you are, especially in the SEC or Big Ten,
right.
where you're every week is a war, right, with the games that you're going to be playing.
Yes,
that we're not doing everything it takes to win. That if we don't try to bring someone back and kick someone else off that's not going to play for a 23-year-old or 24-year-old that can help us right away,
and they're right,
we're not doing what it takes to win.
Because that is what it takes to win now.
Dan Lanning offers the flip side of this, which gives another bit of evidence as to why we love Dan Lanning.
Okay, Dabo.
Because of the way he thinks about this story. Here's Dan Lanning.
I mean, I think there's a lot of negatives that are involved around this. One, once you go to the NFL, to me, you're in the NFL. You don't get the opportunity to come back. Two, you know, most of us have built our rosters, and you have a limited roster limit now. So if you invited somebody back to your team, that means you're kicking somebody else off your team, right, to match your roster limits. I don't think that's fair to the players that worked all summer, all spring, and put themselves in position to be ready to work for a team, you know, to have somebody come back. But ultimately, you know, it used to be once you had an agent or once you went and did the combine or once you went to I mean, all those things qualified as you are no longer an amateur, you're a professional now once you declare for the draft. So to let any of those players come back, you know, fair or unfair to them, it's unfair to the sport. And I think it's unfair to the players that are on current teams, you know, for those guys to be coming back.
Chad, this works, though, whenever you're a coach and you're bringing 80 new players in because it's your first year, and the guy that you're bringing in from the NFL just so happened to play at the previous university you were coaching at. And if you keep a roster spot open with the idea that, oh, this guy wants to come back and play college football because there's a loophole because of the 2022 season, that's why it works. He's not necessarily taking a roster spot from anyone at LSU. Lane Kiffin kept one open.
He was ready for this contingency. What did I quoted General Nealon last week as saying, I prepared my men for every possible contingency, so all I could do was sit back and watch them perform. Lane Kiffin definitely prepared for this contingency with all the Ole Miss guys that were in that lawsuit that could possibly come back and play. But I still must give respect to Dan Lanning. And again, Dan Lanning might come back in a year and say, hey, this rule's for me now. Or he might come back in a week and say, this guy wants to come back, I'm going to do it. And we're going to sit here and laugh at the hypocrisy of Dan Lanning also. I don't think he'll do that. I think he's being legitimate about it. What is the message you send your team? But also, I think with Lane Kiffin, Hutton, and this is a question at all times with him, what does it matter in terms of attracting the next talent? Like, is there a parent that is legitimately like, you know, I saw how you handled that situation by kicking off 5 of your current players or revoking their scholarship or putting them off to the side for guys that were in the NFL to come back. And I don't like how you handle that as the parent of my son who might go and play for you. There may be someone out there like that, but for the most people and prospects, it's going to be, can I play? Can I get to the NFL? How much money are you going to pay me? They're not asking Lane Kiffin about any of his past or how he's dealt with previous roster decisions. They don't care. And I think this will be another story like that where they won't care. I like that Dan Lanning cares. I feel like Dan Lanning is building a program or has built one at Oregon where he does care about things like that. He does care about the attitude and the morale of the locker room and how they feel connected. And kudos to Dan Lanning for doing that.
There are 2 first names that are last names on the jersey in the SEC. Quarterbacks who have been named starting quarterbacks at some big-time universities and football programs. Russell and Brandon. That's next here on Hutton Withrow. King of the Wild Frontier. That's Davy Crockett. David Crockett. Crockett Coffee. Started by Clay Travis, Buck Sexton, and Buck's brother Mason. Named after Davy Crockett, hunter, storyteller, patriot, backwoods legend. Look at the logo. Look at this logo. Davy surfing on the
Glorious.
backs of crocodiles. That tells you everything about the attitude right here of this coffee. 100% pure Arabica, high altitude beans, small batch roasted right here in America, Tennessee, the heart of the country. It ships fresh roasted. It's not sitting on a warehouse shelf for 6 months. Light, medium, dark, decaf, organic, even a mushroom blend. Whole bean, ground, or K-Cups, however you make it in the morning.
Shout out David Crockett High School in Northeast Tennessee also. Speaking of David Crockett, you can set up a subscription and it shows up on your schedule. Change it or cancel it anytime you want as the free market intended. Free shipping on orders of $59 or more, and there's a discount for veterans. That's right, and Crockett partners with Tunnel to Towers, building mortgage-free homes for the families and fallen service members and for catastrophically injured veterans and first responders. Good coffee, made in America, doing some good. CrockettCoffee.com. That's Crockett, Crockett, coffee.com. I'm drinking some right now this morning, Hutton. It is glorious. Taste of America.
That's right. David Damn Crockett.
David Crockett.
Chad, there's a Brandon who will be on the last name on the back of a jersey for Tennessee. Not Crockett, but Brandon. Tell me about the freshman that has won the job.
Hutton, are we fortune tellers? Because, we're planning out the last night, today's show, and we said, we're going to get to this at some point with Keelan Russell being named the starter at Alabama. And we believe Faison Brandon will be the starter or named the starter at some point on Monday for the University of Tennessee. And 5 minutes before this happened, Brooks Carter from our staff sends a text, says, guys, Faison Brandon officially named the starter at Tennessee. This according to the reporting of Pete Nakos and Chris Lowe at On3 Sports.
Reporting of Chad Withrow, too.
No surprise. Yeah. And also just me reading and listening to people I really trust in Knoxville, people like Brent
hang on,
Hubbs.
Chad, let me jump in because I want to give you some credit here because
Jump in while I sneeze, yes.
Because you said last week at some point, I'm trying to think of the day, you're like, hey, look, it's going to be Faison Brandon. This feels like a George McIntyre spot where they were giving him a lot of praise all of a sudden, but it's still Brandon who's going to be the starter. And turns out less than a week later, that's exactly what happened.
Well, and I heard from someone at the scrimmage.
Okay.
I'm not going to reveal who it was, obviously, but at the scrimmage on Saturday, the moment it ended, it texted me and said, Faison Brandon's the starter. After the scrimmage, there's no doubt. He connected with Mike Matthews on a long touchdown. I think it was negated by a penalty, but he looked a little smoother. George McIntyre has looked good this fall camp. It's no big knock on him. The one thing with McIntyre is he's late at times with the football. He threw a pick
not
six.
as mobile, right?
He's not as mobile, but he threw a pick six. He's more mobile than he's given credit for. He's not as mobile as Faison Brandon.
Right.
But he threw a pick six at one point in the scrimmage. He's just late with the ball. And Faison Brandon, for a true freshman, has been more on time with the football in this very timing-centric offense. And it's not just timing-centric. It's you got to be on the same page with the receivers. A lot of option routes, right? There's a lot of the defense is doing this, so my receiver's doing that.
Yeah.
And I better know what they're doing. We better be on the same page. I think it was important to get this decision out of the way today because now starts the mock game week for Tennessee as they get ready for their first game of the year against Furman. You want to get all the first team reps, whoever it is. Faison Brandon will get that now with the first team. I don't think it's going to matter against Furman. It's going to matter against Georgia Tech in week 2, who your starting quarterback is.
Sure.
So you want to get all those first team reps right now. Seems like the right decision for Josh Heupel. Hutton. I think if there's any doubt about the older player versus the younger player, you go with the player with a higher ceiling. And it looks like Faison Brandon is that player for Tennessee.
And there's not that much difference. It's not like an upperclassman going against a younger player here.
The flip side of this is a great example. Upperclassman and Austin Mack, redshirt freshman, and Keelan Russell at Alabama, right? Mack is the guy who knows Ryan Grubb and Kalen DeBoer's offensive system better.
Sure.
He's repped it more. But then you have Keelan Russell, who the ceiling is sky high for this guy. He's the better runner also, much like Faison Brandon. Gives them a different element. Keelan Russell is the highest rated quarterback in the history of Alabama football out of high school. Okay, I think he was the number 2 quarterback, number 1 or number 2 quarterback in America. Faison Brandon was a top 3 or 4 quarterback in his class also a year after Keelan Russell. So Tennessee and Alabama this year, to me, Hutton, both feel like possible back end of the playoff spoilers.
Okay.
Like they could be, especially Tennessee. I think Alabama may be a little less surprising to
Tennessee
some.
is as good as we've seen, except for the question an unknown at quarterback, right?
Alabama's schedule gets tough late, but they should start 5-0 before they play Georgia. Okay, they're going to get off to a good start this year, I feel like. Tennessee, their schedule is a little more balanced in terms of they get Texas early.
Yeah.
They go to Georgia Tech. They get some tough games early in the season. But yeah, it feels. Hutton, I look at both these teams and I think, what if these guys? It's such a make not make or break, feast or famine type decision for both Kalen DeBoer and Josh Heupel. I mean, Tennessee could be sitting there after a few weeks and you're thinking, boy, they've really knocked it out of the park with this Faison Brandon guy. This is going to be insane. And oh, by the way, did you see those DGG highlights from his game against Brentwood Academy? He's going to join the fray next year. Same goes for Alabama. All these questions about Kalen DeBoer, they could start Keelan Russell. He looks great early in the season. Everyone's saying, boy, this Alabama program is one to watch, not just now,
Right.
but for the next 2 or 3 years. Very fascinating. Both of these teams, to watch them early on to see what these quarterbacks look like. I'm highly intrigued. But again, Faison Brandon is the guy, is the starter, not a huge surprise. And now I think the challenge of any coach, Kalen DeBoer, Josh Heupel included, you better keep Austin Mack and George McIntyre engaged. You don't want one of those guys completely checking out because they're going to play. George McIntyre is going to play against Furman. If Faison Brandon gets dinged up, George McIntyre is then going to be the guy. Same goes for Alabama. And Hutton, in today's open transfer portal that it's a lot easier for guys who don't win the job to mentally check out and call their agent and say, hey, start looking out at 2027. Who needs a starter? Who wants me? Where can I go and play? Yep.
Now, was this an actual? It doesn't sound like this was all that close at Tennessee. This battle is what it sounds like.
I think it got closer in the fall. I don't think
closer. It can get closer, but still not be close.
Right. I not for 1 second thought that McIntyre was going to be the guy in fall practice. Let's put it that way. We've been consistent, both of us on this show. I don't think it was close one time. And again, I'm going to go back. Brent Hubb's a guy I trust. We've had him on this show. He's connected as anyone. Good buddy with our buddy Mike Keith. He doesn't just write or say something without having a really good basis of knowledge about it. When he wrote a column after the scrimmage on Saturday and Saturday night or Sunday and said, here's why Faison Brandon is going to be the guy, and kind of listed the reasons, I'm thinking it's not officially reported by them. It will be soon, but he's going to be the guy. And Josh Heupel, I'm sure, is going to talk a lot more about it today in that decision. But those receivers too, I mean, Tennessee's got something with Mike Matthews, who from all accounts has been even better than Braylon Staley this preseason. He is emerging as the guy. He's a 5-star that was a little bit slow to take off last year, had some drop issues, but is a great talent. Tennessee's got to identify that third receiver. Could be the 5-star freshman TK Keys, could be Rodarius Jackson, could be Tyreek King, who's from Knoxville. They've got a lot of talent at tight end also with Ethan Davis and Desan Brame. This is a skill-heavy team with a veteran offensive line and a veteran running back who is a workhorse in Deshaun Bishop with 2 home run threats behind him in Javen Gordon and DeJuan Morris. This has a chance to be a very good offense if the quarterback, it's a big if, right? But if the quarterback can get it going quickly, you can't have, half of a season runway to figure out the offense, the nuances and everything. If it looks like they're an immense talent like Faison Brandon early, it could be a great year. Same goes for Alabama. When I look at their skill guys, if Keelan Russell can get it going early, this has a chance to be a surprisingly special year for both Alabama and Tennessee. And guess what, Hutton? They're both going to wear their colored uniforms when they face off on the third Saturday of October against each other. So we could be seeing Faison Brandon versus Keelan Russell in a preview of what could be a mammoth matchup with those two programs for years to come.
Chad, as a diehard, true Tennessee fan, how optimistic are you that this is not just the right decision, but this is the decision that puts Tennessee into the college football playoff?
I think it's the right decision. I am very, very optimistic about Tennessee this year. Now, we haven't kicked off yet. Let's do a special halftime
we're just
show.
sitting here right now.
Yeah, let's do a special halftime show of the Furman game, and let's see how I'm feeling, or the Georgia Tech game if they're down, 17-0 in Atlanta. No, I'm very optimistic. The defense is going to be better. I do think that the Jim Knowles system, it probably is complicated and all that, and there's going to be some growing pains with it. But
we've seen that before too. Yeah,
top to bottom, they're more talented. Even with losing Farouk, they really did well in the transfer portal with some guys they added. Defense was abysmal a year ago. It's going to be better. I think offensively, I don't think, Joey Aguilar was a finished product when he started in Atlanta against Syracuse, right? Yeah. He's connecting on bombs. Like, they put up a lot of points in that game. Faison Brandon's not going to be a finished product when he starts the season, but is he more talented than Joey Aguilar? Bet your ass. I think he's more talented. Is his upside higher? Absolutely.
Okay.
He's got a better chance to break a run, in a game and make a big play with his feet. So I'm optimistic, Hutton.
Let's also just throw in, this is now an opportunity for Josh Heupel to stack seasons with a quarterback. We haven't seen that happen. He gets to
so true.
He gets to build and develop a quarterback now, and this is not just about a one season decision. That has been the case. I think we can get trapped into that lull, right? Like that. Oh, this is for the 2026 season. It is. But it's beyond that, and it's beyond that for the first time for Josh Heupel. And I know initially it was Nico, and Nico was the future, but you know what I'm saying. This is a decision for the here and now, but also a decision for the future of Josh Heupel's legacy at the University of Tennessee.
First time, Hutton, since 2004 with Brent Schaefer that Tennessee will start a true freshman quarterback in game number 1. And if you remember, Eric Ainge took over. They were alternating. But Brent Schaefer was the first one out to start that game against UNLV.
Yeah.
It was a Sunday night game. I was fresh out of college. I was working at 104.5 The Zone. I drove up that weekend to hang out with friends, and I went to that Sunday night of Labor Day weekend game against UNLV, and I was in the south end zone of that game watching Brent Schaefer.
Okay.
22 years later,
wow,
Tennessee will start a true freshman again for the first time at quarterback. I'm excited to see it. It's huge for Josh Heupel. I mean, if you can actually, it feels like, okay, these are now multi-year agreements, but what does that mean in the world of college sports? Faison Brandon's locked in. I post those highlights of DGG, and I say Tennessee will win an SEC title while he's there. I'm going to go ahead and call it. One of his 3 years, they're going to win the SEC with Faison Brandon and DGG. What's the first response from everyone that's not a Tennessee fan? He won't stay at Tennessee.
You're right.
He'll have over 1,000 yards in year one.
No one stays anywhere. Yeah.
Someone's going to pay more or do that. I mean, it's possible. Do I think it's going to happen? No. I've never been more bullish on a prospect than DGG, what I know about him and what I've seen. English is his second language. Again, he's not spending time going out, hollering at girls. He doesn't eat sugar. He does nothing but works out and plays football. This guy is going to be a stud. We can put this on wax. You can play it back all you want. He is going to dominate in Josh Heupel's offense. I feel very good about that. I was talking to someone who knows Kirby Smart. Kirby Smart was telling people this dude could have started and played at Georgia as a junior in high school. That's how high Kirby Smart was on him. So combine the two, Hutton, I think the sky's the limit for the Vols. And I feel the same about Alabama. I think people are sleeping on the Tide right now, and I'm watching highlights to my right of Keelan Russell. I think both programs are set up very well.
Man, we'll discuss recruiting. There's one DGG based on the highlights I was watching. There's just one. He's one of one, right?
Yep.
But recruiting right now, the fan base is, and rightfully so, because the vast majority, the 99% of the players are all basically the same player when it comes to recruiting. Let's discuss head coaches, coaching staffs, recruiting. Easier, more difficult. You're doing it every year now. What's the future hold for recruiting? But the top 1%, can you get those dudes to stay? We'll discuss that straight ahead here on Hutton Withrow. Hutton Withrow with you to tell you about XXXY Athletics, founded by Jennifer Say, former national champion gymnast, former Levi's brand president. She walked away from a corporate job rather than to say something she didn't believe, and she started XXXY Athletics instead. The mission, in their words, empower female athletes, take a stand for fair competition. They call it the T that launched the movement, and it is the movement of the Nashville Balls. Nashville Balls merch, Chad. You can get it right now. XXXY Athletics.
That's right. This is the crew making that official merch for the Nashville Balls. They've got tees, trucker hats out now. If you want the shirt, that's where you get it. New customers also get 20% off your first order when you sign up, and free shipping over $100. XXXYathletics.com. That's XX-XYathletics.com. But I'm willing to bet that XXXY made a little bit of money last night with Enes Kanter getting booted from that game when Natasha Cloud, defender of all who can't defend themselves, decided to go into the crowd to tell Enes
Defender of
Kanter
trans.
that, in fact, he could not sleep with Sophie Cunningham, that he had no chance.
Yeah,
Great defender she is.
Natasha Cloud acts like we're trying to eradicate all trans.
Yeah. Come on.
No, we just want
Come on, Tosh. You're
we
better
just
than
want
that,
men
Tosh.
out of women's sports. But it's really that simple.
Some of the dumb things that are said in response to this, but with what she said also, there's no way the WNBA would ever punish her or do anything for her starting an altercation. I mean, what she did was start an altercation with a fan. Like, if you want to be a hard line about rules, right, is like, hey, you can't go in and say things to fans that paid for a ticket. And Enes Kanter is someone who is a patron of a WNBA game at that point, whether you agree with what he's doing or not. But I feel like Enes Kanter got exactly what he wanted. And then the WNBA got what they wanted because they can continue to look foolish and unintentionally set themselves up for more eyeballs following their sport.
I thought fans of WNBA had to wear Teva sandals to get in.
They had to drive a Subaru Outback.
Yeah.
Outback parking only is right up next to the arena.
Have a Camelback backpack where you're sipping, you sip your water through the backpack. That's the WNBA fan. Recruiting right now for head coaches, Chad, is it easier than ever?
I don't know that it's easier than ever, but I think that it's not like, Bear Bryant days when you could take 200 players in your roster and most of them wanted to come and play for you.
And then
so I feel like probably the likes of Bear Bryant and the great coaches back in the day.
Yeah.
John Wooden could get pretty much anyone he wanted in college basketball to come play for him. So it's probably easier then. I think say that again, Hut.
For John Wooden, it's easier.
Yeah. Well, look, I think the common misconception is it's never been harder for college coaches than it is right now because of the transfer portal, because of NIL. I do think that it is easier from this sense that the days of having to go to the living room and Nick Saban doing the cha-cha slide with a top recruit with his family after the dinner, like those days are fewer and farther between.
Brian Kelly.
Yeah, they come to you. Like now you get a visit set up, you have a big, barbecue weekend or whatever it is. You're going to have your big event around a scrimmage or a big game. And yes, there is a lot of infrastructure around these top programs and how they facilitate recruits and recruiting weekends and people who organize all that. And it's still a very, complicated system when it comes to that. But the days of flying in for a living room visit, a home visit for someone, you don't see it as much now. The schedule's made it a little bit easier on coaches. And Hutton, it's such a business proposition at this point. I mean, your collective and your school, you're just working out the numbers.
Right.
But the coaches aren't doing that as much. The coach sells their vision, and then they're going through their agent to work out how much they're going to get paid. So that leads to less, I got to go visit this guy 2 times at his home and do this. Then I got to hop on another plane and go here and visit another player. Some of that still happens, but from that perspective, I think it in a weird way, it makes it cleaner and easier for the head coaches in recruiting. And why that is because there's so many more hands involved now. There's collectives, there's agents, there's analysts, there's all these other people that are involved that the head coach really has to do less now in recruiting.
Chad, if you were a recruit, if you're like me, I would be taking every possible visit there was. I'm at to be wined and dined and to fly and jet set all over the country as a high school player, or as a college player. like to negotiate. I mean, it's never. I mean, enter the portal every year. That's the
You get
business
paid to
side
go
of
on a
it.
visit now too, Hutton.
Yeah, there you go. Getting
I
paid.
mean, keep in mind, like there's thousands of dollars these
That's a good
guys are
point.
getting paid before they go through their agent. Because you can get money in high school now with NIL. I've been watching a lot of high school football over the weekend. We called the Brentwood Smyrna game on Friday night and saw a beautiful facility at Smyrna High School that players have now. And I'm telling people about, hey, Brentwood's quarterback transferred in from Memphis and he's the starter now. And then this guy left and went to this school, and everyone's coming to me and saying, wait a minute, are you claiming that high school players are getting paid to go play for other high schools in high
No.
school football? And I'm thinking, yeah, some of that's involved, but also it's just opportunity, right? Like you can just up and decide, I'm going to leave my team
Right.
and go somewhere else because of, hey, I can start here, or this is a better system for me, or the last three edge rushers that played this position went on to play in college and I want to go play in college. Whatever your decision may be, you can make that decision now in high school football, even. And that trickle up effect with all of that, like these guys, by the time they get to you, Hutton, they've probably already made a business decision or two. They probably already went to the big private school locally and transferred. They've already done things like that. So they're no stranger to these dealings.
Is this you mentioned agents? Is this the first sighting we have of Drew Rosenhaus in college football? This deal right now going on at LSU? I think it is.
Yeah, I think it is.
Now,
Yeah,
publicly, I'm saying. I'm sure.
publicly for sure. Like, and I think that a Drew Rosenhaus, I don't know who was all with his agency now, but he will probably have a college NIL
Oh,
department.
he's got Rosenhaus Sports, yes, but I'm saying he's publicly representing this player
Mm-hmm.
who is an undrafted tight end. I mean, again, he's going to get cut most likely anyway. He's hoping he would. He has. Now he's going to clear waivers. We know all that, but he's recruiting others to do exactly this now. It's now Rosenhaus up front and center, and he's now recruiting players, Chad, this way for like it's like it won't be that far from now whenever he's going to be in the driveway of a house of a family while like To was doing push-ups and sit-ups and working out in the driveway. We'll have Rosenhaus doing this, but for a college player or a high school player.
Well,
This is the
let's
next
also
expansion
say,
of that.
I mean, perfect marriage. First off, Drew Rosenhaus and Lane Kiffin. Congratulations.
Yes.
You two finally got together. You got hitched because from just a PR standpoint, both guys don't have great PR at times, and people don't like them. And it's the perfect PR stunt type marriage
But
with
players
those two
love them.
guys.
Yep, you're right.
Also, here's another thing I keep hearing. Why would someone want to leave the NFL for college football? Why wouldn't you if you're Daquan Wright? This is 1,000% the right decision for him. He was barely going to make the team with the Bucks, if making it at all. He gets to go back, make more money to play a sport he knows he's successful playing. I don't know why you would leave school unless you're a first round pick right now in college football, right? Like it is set up for you. You're well protected. You have a great infrastructure of where you're living, where you're walking to your facility. Everyone's like, why would you want to go to class? We don't have to. All the classes are online. Who knows if half the guys are even going to class at this point in time when you look at how
No.
professional college football is? I just think it's the perfect setup for him. He made the right decision for him. Make no mistake about it. Like, I hate it for the sport,
Sure.
but for him, great job. I got no problem with him doing that if he was able to make it happen.
Now,
That's what should happen. But
he's one of 16 that are expected to do this at least, right?
yeah,
At least 16.
and for all the bitching and moaning that's going to happen when he takes the field, we turn on College Game Day or Big Noon Kickoff that first weekend, and it's going to be a story for everyone. What will Daquan Wright do today for LSU? And everyone's going to have their roundtable discussion about it. And Kirk Herbstreit and everyone's going to sit there and bitch about the failure of college sports
Sure.
and
Guess what?
how it's no longer amateur and this and that. No matter all of that, Hutton, all the bitching, we will all be watching.
Well, and
Ratings will be through the roof.
And when you're watching, here's my thing. Do I like where we're headed and where we are? Not just where we're headed, where we are. No, I don't. But does my college football Saturday feel like a Saturday? And it still does.
Yep.
When I watch it, it still
Yep.
does feel like Saturday. NFL Sunday feels different. College football just has a vibe and a feeling and a true just there's just an aura about it. And as long as it's there, I'm okay with whatever's going on beneath the surface because it's not affecting my joy of college football on game day, tailgate to post game. And
Well, and let's
still going to feel that
to
way.
your point, Hutton. Let's bring JT up for a second because we're on a group text with him, and when we were talking about this story, he said, "I love the drama." I mean, I think that he's not alone with that, right, JT? Like this just adds to the storyline of college football.
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime you can kind of just have this back and forth. I mean, it's just what makes people interested, right? I mean,
Yes.
I live for this stuff versus what's on Sunday, a little bit different, but I think it's great.
Here's something we've talked about a lot too, and I think JT and Hutton would both agree with this. I know Hutton does. We need somebody to hate. Hate is a powerful emotion in sport. You need someone to root against. You need a villain, but you need someone. And I know people are gonna well, don't hate. People are going to hate the Daquan Wright situation, and they will root against him. They will root against him in games. And now, if he goes out and he's really successful for LSU, it's going to make
now
even
it's
more
LSU.
interest and generate it because people
Yeah.
are going to continue to watch.
And the villain aspect, JT, like Chad and I have talked about this. We already hate we hate the story. Kiffin leaves Ole Miss. He's what we hated the college football playoff last year. He gave up on the team that was going to go coach a team that he believed could win a national championship. The governor gets involved there. Like there's a lot of things to not like about the villain of LSU. LSU's just fine playing the villain. JT, do you need a villain in college football?
Yeah, I mean, what happens if Lane Kiffin leaves to go coach a different
Alabama.
team in the NFL? I mean, he's amazing for college football. I mean, whether you like him or don't, but he's great if you don't.
And I don't even know who that next Lane Kiffin would be. If we didn't have Lane Kiffin in the SEC, especially, or in college, he's great in the SEC. I hope he never leaves and goes back to the NFL. I mean, Curt Cignetti coaches at Indiana.
Well,
So it's still kind of the guy's arrogant and this and that. But yeah,
Eli
I mean,
Drinkwitz wants
we
to
need
be
a
that
villain.
guy, but he's not that guy.
Who did you say, Hunt?
I said Drinkwitz wants to be that guy, but he'll never be that guy.
No, because they're not good enough.
Right,
So
right.
you got to be really good and you got to be really unlikable.
But if you're willing to play the villain,
I mean, think
Deshaun
about
Watson can't play the villain.
what James Franklin did at Vanderbilt. I mean, you know.
We're going to talk later this week, too. I'm glad you brought up James Franklin. Guys who were set up for immediate success in college football, first-year head coaches. We're going to come up with a list. It's not going to be our depth chart this week. I've got our depth chart that I'm actually working on a piece for Sport and State that hopefully will drop later this week, and we can discuss it as our depth chart. But, Hutton, I think that James Franklin, you could make the argument, Kyle Whittingham's the other one, that it's just the perfect cultural fit for where they are right now. And James Franklin at Virginia Tech, there's a chance for upward mobility in the ACC because that is not a great league. And Virginia Tech still does have a good name in the sport. And they could win and win big quickly with James Franklin as their head coach. We'll talk more about that later in the week.
Hey, our boys at the Next Round Live are getting ready in about a little over 15 minutes to join us here on Sport and State. They'll have you covered starting at 10 a.m. Eastern with LT and Ryan Brown and Dunaway. Be sure to catch them straight ahead. When we come back, though, we continue here on Hutton Withrow. And, Chad, a comparison for DGG and Tom Brady when we come back. Got the It's Hutton Withrow, presented by Hard Rock Bets. Next round live coming up at the top of the hour. Chad, do you think if I say top of the hour, most people know what I'm talking about?
I think everyone over 35 knows what you're talking about. I think for the younger generation, they may have a hard time with that, Hutton. This is the debut for Next Round Live, too, on the Sport and State Network coming up.
That's right. Looking forward to LT and Ryan Brown and Dunaway. Catch them coming up at 10 o'clock Eastern. So, Chad, you brought up DGG and how he doesn't eat sugar, right?
Correct.
Well, but he's had sugar. At least he's had sugar.
I would
Comparing-
assume he's had sugar in his life, yes.
Tom Brady claims he has never had coffee. Ever. That is a lie. Everyone has tried coffee. Think about how popular coffee is across the world as just a drink. And to not have tried coffee in your life, like President Trump says he's never had a sip of alcohol. Okay? Like coffee? You've never tried coffee? Tried coffee.
Yeah, I know plenty of people who've never had alcohol. It's totally believable. The coffee thing, like you never stole a sip from your parents growing up.
But like across your entire, not even parent, like after, if let's say your parents just refused to let you have coffee, that would be a drink you would try in spite of your parents because it's not illegal. It's not bad for you. Everyone drinks it. It's readily available. Like, come on. Never tried coffee. It was different than just doesn't eat sugar. Okay, you can do away with sugar. I can go from sweet tea to unsweet tea reluctantly, but to never try tea.
See, I just wouldn't drink. I just wouldn't drink tea. Like a sweet tea. Sweet tea is bad for my kidney stones, so
Yeah.
I've given up sweet tea. I love sweet tea. Okay, but once
I love
I've heard that
tea,
it could
yeah,
cause kidney
yeah.
stones for someone that's had them before, I will never drink sweet tea again because of that. Because of the pain.
Okay,
of
that's
kidney
interesting
stones.
though, because
But
you and I
unsweet
both,
tea is disgusting.
well, I'm fine with unsweetened tea. They would call it iced tea in the North. I would also say you and I both, we would drink a sugary coffee, and now I can just drink straight black, no sugar.
I can drink straight coffee. I think the fall off though from the sugary cream filled coffee to just black coffee is way less severe than sugarless tea. And the
Okay.
drop off from tea with sugar in it. It completely
So-
changes the taste so much. The chat out on the YouTube chat says, I have a 20-ounce tumbler of coffee every morning, heavy cream and maple syrup in that.
Maple syrup.
I mean, DGG and Tom Brady would hate this guy in that morning routine to put maple syrup and sugar and cream and coffee and everything else. I have a hard time believing it. My 11-year-old drinks coffee now pretty much every morning. She'll have a little bit of coffee before she goes off to school. So I have a hard time like you, Hutton, believing Tom Brady's never had a sip of coffee. That's a lot.
I think it's a lie. You know, like has never tried coffee. That's a little bit too far for me, too much of a stretch, and I'm a Brady fan. Also, DGG he's 17.
Yep.
17 years old, to look like Megatron, to speak 2 different languages, English is a second language, to not eat sugar. Can the kid live a little bit? Is he allowed to just be a dude on the campus?
He
whenever
can
gets there.
He can live all he wants once he's done with his time at the University of Tennessee. I need him to be a Megatron-like robot.
I want
and just go and perform. That's what I need from him as a Tennessee
I don't
fan.
want the robot, man. I want the dude to live it up.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way he stays at Tennessee. He needs to get within the Tennessee globe, within the. It kind of like Texas A&M when you're in the snow globe at the college station. When you get to Knoxville, you need to live Knoxville a little bit. Have some sugar, if you know what I mean.
I think that he will not do that. And I think that some people are just wired differently. I just really feel like he's wired differently than most, where he doesn't need it. He just wants to kind of show up and go to work. And then I think he like goes and plays video games.
But these guys feel like it's like a kid star, like a kid actor back in the day, where the parents are like like they're the puppeteers, because this is a boarding school at Baylor.
Mhm.
where he's coming down from Canada. Like it feels a lot like a child star, like Macaulay Culkin back in the day.
I'm going to give a shout out to Jim Dunaway, who's going to be up next,
Yeah.
because talking about this, he saw and he was talking about the DGG highlights from Thursday.
Yeah.
And I think he watched Bo Jackson as a high school prospect. And he said that if cell phones had cameras and they were around back then and you got to watch these games on TV, it feels like what Bo Jackson looked like in high school when he watches DGG. Like, this is what the highlight reel probably would have looked like to everyone watching the game, where everyone was just blown away by the way this guy looked like Spider-Man with some of his maneuvers during that game and how big and strong and fast he is. There's no accounting for injury and things like that if that happens, but it feels like a pretty surefire bet on DGG. Now, paying him $2 million a year for a non-quarterback, he's going to get paid more than any running back. There's still going to be questions about roster allotment of your finances and who you're paying and all that. But Hutton, it just feels to me like a pretty it's a bet worth taking if you're Tennessee and you're trying to land the in-state guy that you feel that highly about, that you go ahead and invest that money. That's at least what it looked like when I watched him on Thursday night against Brentwood Academy.
Yep. And we've got Faison Brandon announced today as the starter at University of Tennessee. Keelan Russell's a starter in Tuscaloosa for Alabama. Young quarterback's the way to go, man. Because if you don't go with the young starter, chances are you're going to lose that guy to the portal.
Yeah, if you're not going to go the route of let's bring in a guy who's got 1 year or two that's 23 or 22 that's played a lot of football, the Sam
Right.
Leavitt route at LSU, then I think the next best scenario is what Tennessee and Alabama are doing. And boy, we got a 5-star guy here on campus. Let's roll with him. Maybe it's not pretty all the time as he breaks in as an 18-year-old or 19-year-old in the SEC, but maybe we can actually have some continuity where there is no continuity around college football anywhere else. And if you can keep that quarterback continuity with some key pieces around them and lock them up from year to year, you could have something really good. I think Alabama and Tennessee both could be set up for something really nice, really nice, really nice surprise, Clark, for both those programs moving forward because of the quarterback.
When's the last time we've heard about Bryce Underwood, speaking of young quarterbacks?
That's,
Been a while.
it's a great question. And I think he's almost the cautionary tale with what Michigan was a year ago. Like, he was the no doubt, no brainer prospect. He wasn't great. He wasn't bad either. But Hutton, I think the fact that we're not hearing as much out of Michigan camp with him is probably a good thing, right? Because if we were hearing anything, it'd be alarm bells about him having a sophomore slump or not getting a lot better. But I don't really see that with him. So, but I think that's what you look at it and say, Jared Curtis at Vanderbilt, who's the number one quarterback in the country, right? Like, if Jared Curtis at Vanderbilt is Bryce Underwood from a year ago, with Vandy's supporting cast and their schedule, which is brutal, do they win 6 games? I don't know. Like, but he could still look good enough and perform. But what does that mean for wins and losses? We're going to find out.
Well, I'll tell you this, man. If Vanderbilt wins 6 games, and if he's Bryce Underwood of last year, if Vanderbilt wins 6 games with a true freshman starter with a gauntlet of a schedule that they have in the SEC, that's a good sign for the Vanderbilt Commodores.
Yeah,
I mean, that means
their over under is 6.5.
That's sustainability. I
Yeah, they're
believe
over
that.
under 6.5 going into the season. I think if they get 6 wins, that's pretty good. I think if they get 7, that's great.
Because you got to start. You got a 5-star starter. You've got a transformed offensive line. Like you to me, that means you're winning some games in there that you're the underdog with in the SEC. That you're still trending. You're trending up, despite winning 10 and dropping to 6.
Clark Lee would hate us
the
for
true
saying
freshman starter. I'm saying.
Clark Lee would hate us for saying this and setting the expectations there. He would tell you that they didn't do enough last year winning 10 and that they're trying to win an SEC title, and that's the goal for this season.
Yeah.
But I'm with you on this. The Vegas over-under is 6.5. Vandy feels like if they get to 6, it's a success. If they get to 7, it's an amazing season.
Sure.
Tennessee, Hutton, they're over-under 7.5, a game more than Vandy. That's it, 1 game more. But doesn't it feel like for Tennessee to have a successful year, they need 8? I don't think 7, like Vandy,
and that's
feels
what the true
like
freshman
a
as well. True freshman starter as well.
Right. But it feels, I'm just giving you what I think about each team. Like, I think Tennessee needs to get the over to truly be successful
Well-
this year. I think Vandy could be a half game under and still feel like a success.
Yeah, and Vanderbilt though, like there's some Vanderbilt to me, I would take the over by half game, and I would take the under by half game for Tennessee. Like it's just, I think I think Vegas has nailed it with the over under for both. As for Jerry Curtis, we're going to find out if he's the starter later this week, early this week, today or tomorrow, I believe, is when at least internally Vanderbilt wants to have a starter named.
Yeah, Keelan Russell yesterday or the day before named the starter. Faison Brandon today. Maybe wait a day and then get a news pop tomorrow if you're Clark Lee and name Jared Curtis as the starter.
All right,
But
so
hey,
here's-
it may be Blaze Berlowitz who's the starter, which
Yeah,
would be a huge shock to me. But it seems like there's been more credence to his performance.
I'm not playing Berlowitz here. He has a tendency to turn the football over. There are throws, though, that Curtis can make. You and I stood there and watched, and it's one practice. But there are plays that Curtis makes that we're not seeing the senior make with flick of the wrist. And you play the 5-star because of the schedule, the way it starts. They're opening up against Austin Peay. Then they have Delaware at home. And then they're hosting NC State. So those are the 3 games. But here comes the gauntlet for a true freshman. On the road against Auburn, on the road against Georgia, hosting Ole Miss, hosting Arkansas, visiting Kentucky, going on the road against Mississippi State, hosting Alabama, visiting Florida, hosting Tennessee. Like that's life in the SEC, but this is a 5-star who was going to Georgia, right? Like that. I keep having to tell myself that. You're starting this dude.
There's
I'm
no
not
breaks.
naming the other guy as the benefit of having the senior as your backup is he's been in the New Mexico State office. He has been with this coaching staff. If something happens to your freshman, you're okay. You can run your offense and run it well. But can you have the splash plays? Can you have the dynamic 5-star plays? Not unless you're starting the 5-star freshman, Chad.
There's no breaks in that SEC schedule. And Jared Curtis didn't decommit from Georgia to go to Vandy to sit the bench.
Hey, I haven't heard from Diego Pavia. Is he going to enter the portal?
And hey, Bryce Underwood got paid a ton of money too. So
Yes, he did.
I think you get paid to start. Like I don't think with the money Bryce Underwood was getting paid. I heard Dave Portnoy, who helped pay it, at Barstool talk about it. Like, yeah, we're paying the kid to start. He's coming in to be the starter on day one. That's the expectation. I feel the same about Jared Curtis. And will Diego Pavia enter the transfer portal? I've had my suspicions.
Please.
I've had my suspicions. Now, I don't think the 5th year thing applies for him because he already got the exemption.
I was just
for like
saying
the 6th year he got or whatever. But
he's undrafted.
he can still try.
If Pavia could play, he would play. Hey, hit us up on socials if you want into the Fantasy Football League for Hutton and Withrow. The DMs are open. You can hit it at Hutton_Withrow. Also, hit us up in the chat as well at Hutton and Withrow. We hope you'll subscribe to the YouTube channel there. And we hope you'll stick right here at Sport and State, sportandstate.com, because just around the corner, right now, the debut of Next Round Live with LT and Ryan and Dunaway. Happy right now here at Sport and State.